Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. Maybe the time stopped. Wow, my clock is not lit up. Is it the end of the world? I'll have to check that out after the morning video. Good morning, friends. So we are here today. It's finally freaking Friday. And the Green Bay Packers that we thought we were facing last week showed up last night. Aaron Rodgers not looking great. The team looking terrible. Receivers dropping balls left and right. But for some reason, teams always seem to show up when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. It just is. And, sometimes, when you look at a schedule, and you say, oh, man, this is going to be a loss, this is going to be a loss, this is going to be a win, this is going to be a win. A lot of times, you'll end up losing games that you shouldn't, and you'll win games that you shouldn't. And I'm hoping that maybe that's just a game that, it's just too emotional. It was Mike McCarthy trying to go to Green Bay, make a statement and stuff, exercising the old demons of Aaron Rodgers and so on. I just don't know. It was just ugly, just a terrible thing, and just got to move on. Mike McCarthy himself says we got to put it on the team and not blame the officials. Well, okay. I get what you're saying on that one. But I hope you're also including in that the coaching as well, because I'm still, Kellen Moore, I still don't understand sometimes how the Cowboys always are so in love with passing the football to the point of it just doesn't make sense. The Cowboys, we averaged 5.1 yards per run in the game. We had 31 rushes, which is good. But when you're able to pick up that kind of yards, especially when you've been playing with the lead most of the game, you should be running the ball more. Now, hopefully we get Zeke Elliott back. He will be wearing a brace if he plays. But hopefully we can use him to help run out the clock and not take Tony Pollard and basically destroy him before the playoffs get here. We need a win in the worst way. Now, I'm kind of mystified right now because when I think about the Minnesota Vikings, the Vikings who on the road in overtime beat Buffalo, where Josh Allen had a hideous, and I mean hideous pass. Hideous. It was terrible in overtime. If Dak Prescott does that pass, they're tarring and feathering him right there. They're not letting him back on the airplane. Nobody talks about Josh Allen's bad pass. But be that as it may, Minnesota is undefeated at home this year. They've got one defeat, and that's against, on Monday night, which is Kirk Cousins' bugaboo, against the Eagles. One loss, none at home. Somehow, we are 1.5 point favorite going into Minnesota. We just lost to the Green Bay Packers. We underperformed, underwhelmed, did not look good. Well, just terrible against the run. And we got Dalvin Cook up. We got Justin Jefferson. And somehow we're 1.5 point favorites? I don't understand that point spread. Now, I believe this week Eagle fans are now Cowboy fans because they're worried that, we could lose another game and, start falling behind for that home field advantage, which is very much possible because Minnesota, although the Eagles own the tiebreaker, right now they only have one loss just like them as well. So it's actually a very, very big game. For us, we don't want to start free falling and then have to turn around on Thursday next week, play our division rival, the New York Stinking Giants. You need to get a win the Cowboys need a win in the worst way to get back on track, because right now the fan base is up in arms and it's getting ugly. Now, the question going forward here is, Stephen A. Smith, who likes to throw gasoline on a fire, came out earlier part of the week and basically said that Dak Prescott is the weakest link. I dare say the defense that's giving up 200 yards on the ground each week right now, whom I mistakenly said was the doomsday defense. They were doing some great things for a while, but have gotten nicked up with losing Jordan Lewis. Anthony Brown got hurt. Jaron Kearse and Donovan Wilson have been in and out of the lineup. We had Anthony Barr out, who should be playing this week with the hamstring and so forth. There's been a lot of change on the defense that we've had just kind of nagging injuries, and we're now working through those. We've signed a few guys to hopefully help out the situation, and we'll see how they work. But there's still 8 games that we got to handle business. This is the worst stretch that we have right now, because we've got, again, Minnesota this week, and 4 days later we have the New York Giants. We then have that 10-day window before we play the Colts, the Jags, the Texans, the Titans, and the Commanders and the Eagles and stuff. So we've got some room to heal, but we don't want to lose these next 2 games. We need a victory in the worst way. So here, do you trust Dak Prescott to lead the Cowboys deep into the playoffs? Discussion this morning. Let's go to the tape.
Listen, last week I was here and I had Tad on my show, and he put his top 10 list when I said he wasn't top 10. It's not a knock on him. It's not nothing wrong with being Jimmy Butler in the NBA, right? He's a good player, but he has to show us that he can step up and he can elevate his team when the guy across from him is considered a upper echelon quarterback. Listen, I've always said, the mark of if you're above Kirk Cousins, you're good. If you're below him, then you're average. And right now, Kirk Cousins is playing at a level we haven't seen him play at underneath this new offense. They're going to get a lot of the same with Dalvin Cook and running the football. Justin Jefferson might be the best receiver in the game. So Dak is going to have to answer. He's going to have to respond, because this isn't going to be one of those games where the defense of Dallas is just going to be able to dominate. You see what they're getting desperate, because they've made some additions on the defensive line. They thought Hankins was enough. That wasn't enough. They went out and got one of Dan Quinn's former teammates, Tariq, I forget his name. They hired another defensive lineman. Right. They're afraid that teams can run the ball on them, and that neutralizes Michael Parsons.
Well, look, so that maybe this becomes more of a Dalvin Cook game than it is a Justin Jefferson game. One where it's an interesting way you look at it. Kirk Cousins, they call it the Mendoza line in baseball. And maybe it's the Cousins line in football. You got to be above that. we all think Dak is above that, right? Do you know that the Cowboys are favored in this game? Do you know that the Vikings are 8-1, coming off one of the biggest wins in the NFL this entire season? They're playing at home, and the Cowboys are a 1.5-point favorite on the road.
That's kind of crazy. But the fate of the Cowboys relies on Dak. The fate of this team relies on his performance.
How so?
How so? You look at the Packers game. Those 2 interceptions were costly. That was the game. Basically the game. That's points. So if the Dallas Cowboys have expectations and aspirations to become Super Bowl champions, it relies on the quarterback. It relies on Dak to be a top 10 quarterback, not to be average. If he's an average quarterback and he makes the plays like we saw against Green Bay, they are not going to have a deep playoff run. They're not going to be a Super Bowl team. So for the Cowboys to go to a Super Bowl, Dak has to be a superstar. He cannot be average. If he's average, they're just an average team.
No, I think that's fair. I think you can go to the Super Bowl with average quarterback play, but it's really hard.
You have to not making that much money because the supporting cast isn't what he had last year.
What do you think?
I thought Jimmy Butler was a great comparison, because he is a guy that has elevated his team, right, beyond where a lot of people thought it would go. And he is a guy that has taken teams to the finals, even if you don't call him a top. So, yeah, I think Dak has to be that guy. Look, I think Ezekiel Elliott could be back this week. Maybe they hold him out one more week because they have the Thanksgiving game, but that makes them more whole in the run game, so they can lean on that even more than as much as people wanted them to in the fourth quarter last week. I think that the thing to watch is the defense. Dak, I think is going to be Dak. You had a 28-14 lead in the fourth quarter. The defense has to hold it. DeMarcus Lawrence, listed as a did not practice yesterday. I mean, if you're banged up on that defensive line, then Dallas is going to have a lot of problems that Dak can't overcome.
There are a variety of reasons they lost that game, and I get it. The defense is supposed to hold a 2-touchdown lead, but the offense has to stay on the field a little more. They only ran 14 plays from that point forward. So there's a little bit of everything that goes into a loss that painful. Meanwhile, what does the table think? Let's take a look at the picks. All right, but once again, we are split.
Yeah.
Once again, the wrong side of the table likes the Cowboys over here. The players like the Vikings. You're riding with Minnesota.
Minnesota, when you have a win like you had last week, the momentum is on your side. You start believing that you're a team of destiny. Like that was a quality win against a great opponent, arguably the best opponent in all of football. I understand it was a little
you blew your wad.
Sometimes better be lucky than good. This team is confident. You know, this team is playing at a high level, and they have bona fide superstars. And Kirk Cousins is playing, I believe, at an MVP caliber level, and we have to start giving him credit and stop saying that he's solar powered.
You know what? When Michael Irvin said before the season that his MVP was Kirk Cousins, we all laughed a little bit. Maybe Michael is going to wind up laughing last.
All right, so there you have it. The Cowboys are favored by 1.5, which means on a neutral site that Vegas believes that the Cowboys are 4.5 points better than the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe they're trying to piss off and disrespect the Vikings to will them to a win. I don't know. But right now, we've got some things that we have to fix, that we definitely need to do better, from the coaching to the players to the damn ball boy. We got to do better and get our shit together. You know, we killed the team on losing that game. They had opportunities even with the faults that they had. Sometimes it's just that you've got to block. And the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers just seems to be that block that we just can't get over. And maybe that's just a one-game thing, and they get back on track this week. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I've got some work to do in the workshop and start getting things together. And I will say, we will have the big sub. The big sub will be back this week. Thank God. Because, bro, I think that hurt us. All right, good people. You know how we roll.
Our coach here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the show for the Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is, how about this, Cowboys?